Hey everybody, how are you doing? And that slight background noise you might hear is Thursday Night Football, and a rather, well, I won't say dull, but disappointing Thursday Night Football game. Now, what do I mean? I mean that it produces an attractive matchup. The Chicago Bears basically visiting the Green Bay Packers, and that's about it. Nothing much else, because the Bears are not living up to their end of the deal. The Bears are performing terribly, and the coaching culprit, hey Eric Bradley, how you doing? And for those of you watching this as a video on demand, when I say hey Eric Bradley, how you doing, I'm referring to someone who's texting on my chat stream, okay? And I'm saying hi to Eric Bradley. But I digress. The culprit of the Bears' loss, apparent loss, anything can happen, but I doubt it under this guy, the coaching culprit is John Fox, the head coach, but the quarterback, Mike Glennon, is just, stinkeroo. Woo! Man, oh man, two interceptions, and then basically a sack fumble. So he's responsible for, I believe, three of the four turnovers the Bears have had to date, to time, right? And it's like, my God, man, what are you doing? Dude, what's up with you, dude, okay? So, horrible, to say the least, is the performance of Mr. Mike Glennon. And what I'm hoping for is that Mike Glennon is pulled from Mitch Trubisky, so we can see Mitch Trubisky under the lights, you know what I mean? Under what they call real live NFL bullets in a real live game. Mitch Trubisky is the Bears' first round NFL draft pick quarterback from North Carolina State. That guy. That's the guy we want to see. So, Go CSU says he's rooting for the Packers tonight. Oh, hey, I thought you were a Broncos fan. Is this like an NFC AFC thing? Like, NFC root for the Packers, but AFC, you know what I'm saying? Is that what that's about? I'm wondering. I'm just curious. Joseph, how you doing? Joseph True says, Zennie always breaking the news. I try, man. I try. And speaking of news, I'm going to cut right to the chase regarding the newest news of the day, which only this blogger has made the connection to inform you of, all right? And that is this. First of all, Donald Trump, our 45th president, is playing a gigantic role, to say the least, in the future of the Oakland Raiders. And he doesn't even know it at this point, because I don't think he knows it. He will after he sees this, and he will see it, because his name is on it, all right? Here's the issue. For some time, it was thought that, Donald Trump would engineer a new policy that would advocate federal government investment with the private sector in improving our infrastructure, and in particular, our highways. Kind of along the lines of what President Obama had done with the Economic Recovery Act, that kind of thing. But guess what? In a conversation that was picked up and told to the Washington Post, apparently President Trump, it was President Trump who said this directly, that basically all this is on the table, okay? And that's scary. In fact, let me now go to you, just out of the desire for the exact thing that he said. Let me tell you the precise story from the Washington Post as I do this search for Trump. And then, internet's slow today. Trump highways, and good. Don't look now. The Packers have scored. The Packers score again? Yes, the Packers did score again. It is now
Yes.
34
again.
to 7. 34 to 7.
Yes.
That's awful. That's awful. John Fox ought to be fired after this. So anyway, Trump private, then highways. So here we go. Trump reverses course. All right. June of this year, Trump had called for Congress to adopt his private highway plan. Okay. And then, all right, and that was June 7th of 2017. I'm reading the headline. Trump calls for Congress to adopt his private highway plan. Looking right at it right now. I'm not even going to bother dragging you down there because you want me to read it to you. You don't want to strain your eyes. You're already straining your eyes enough looking at me. So, Trump calls for Congress to adopt his highway plan. And the story basically went like this. The president, number 45 as I call him, it basically says Donald Trump on Wednesday hit the banks of the Ohio River in Cincinnati to push the infrastructure funding proposal he issued last month. He called on Congress to adopt his proposal for clipping federal funding for U.S. highways in exchange for incentives privatizing companies to pour $800 billion into roads, bridges, waterways, and other transportation infrastructure. And the speech comes, again, this was June 17th, as the speech comes as part of the Trump administration's push to recognize Infrastructure Week. Remember that whole big to-do? An informal week in which lawmakers, the public, and roads groups call for investment in falling U.S. infrastructure. In addition to Wednesday's speech, Trump is scheduled to speak Friday to the Department of Transportation, which he did do, and other transportation stakeholders. The president on Monday called for privatizing the country's air traffic controllers. All right, you get the idea, okay? But the Trump proposal, for which few details have been released, which is, pretty typical for this guy, offers $200 billion in federal tax incentives and seed funding in hopes of drawing private companies, states, and localities to spend $800 billion over 10 years. The total spending goal is added to $1 trillion, the number Trump has touted since his presidential campaign. The White House has not said how it plans to fund the $200 billion investment, which has been a key sticking point for infrastructure funding proposals in recent years. So you get the idea, all right? That was then. That was then. And a number of people in Las Vegas and Nevada pointed to that as the project, or the proposal, the plan, the government plan, the Trump initiative that was going to make it easier for the Oakland Raiders to build their stadium in Las Vegas at Muscle Road and meet the requirements set by the Nevada Department of Transportation for highway upgrades along I-15 right next to the property that's on Russell Road on Dean Martin over there, okay? Now, guess what? Russell Road and I-15. Guess what happened today? All right? Excuse me, 1 day ago. Guess what happened 1 day ago? According to Bloomberg, and this headline I'm about to read to you, it goes like this. Drum roll, please. Trump reverses course in relying on private money for roads. You heard me correctly. Trump reverses course on relying on private money for roads. Welcome to Zennie 62. If you just joined me, I'm talking about how Donald Trump plays a role in the future of the Oakland Raiders, possibly not even being in Las Vegas at all. Now, Trump reverses course on relying on private money for roads. Bloomberg put that out 2017-27-9, okay? All right? Now, this is what it reads. President Donald Trump appeared to reverse course on a key element of his $1 trillion infrastructure plan, telling lawmakers in a closed meeting that public-private partnerships aren't the solution for building and repairing the nation's highways, bridges, and ports. In a meeting Tuesday to discuss his plan to overhaul U.S. taxes, Trump told Republicans and Democrats in the House Ways and Means Committee that such projects don't work according to Democrats Brian Higgins and Terry Sewell of Alabama, who attended the session. Trump Secretary Elaine Chao and other administration officials have said for months that private investment will be a pillar of Trump's plan to spur $1 trillion in investment over a decade. In a framework of the plan released in May, the White House said the federal government will contribute about $200 billion, largely as an incentive to attract private investment and more spending by states and localities. To Higgins, Trump's comments on Tuesday signaled that the president is open to working with Democrats on the plan and possibly increasing the federal commitment. The president obviously feels burned by the House and Senate leadership over the failure to repeal the Affordable Care Act with only Republicans. Higgins said in a telephone interview, "I think in his mind, that liberates him to find a partnership different from the one that hasn't worked in the past 8 months." In response to a request for comment, the White House said there are legitimate questions about how public-private partnerships can be incorporated into the infrastructure plan, but all viable options are still being considered, the Washington Post reported comments late Tuesday, okay? And so they had, and then this goes on to talk about that seed money of $200 million and everything else. But what's the yada, yada, yada? What's the so what of this? The so what of this is that states and localities, all right, is that states and localities would be forced to come up with more money. And then Trump used, basically, Trump used Mike Pence as an example, but then get this, all right? A number of lawmakers, including Republicans, according to Bloomberg here, have questioned how effective public-private partnerships can be in rural or less populated areas that can't generate the tolls or fees needed to attract private investment. While Trump didn't identify a specific project, he did cite Indiana's experience with such deals when Vice President Mike Pence was governor of the state of Indiana. The Indiana Finance Authority announced in June that the state was taking back control of an expansion of Interstate 69 from a private consortium after delays and other problems. A private operator that leased the Indiana toll road in 2006 for $3.8 billion filed for bankruptcy in 2014. All right. So anyway, you get the idea. The bottom line is you cannot rely on the federal government for the additional funding. And I remind you that's needed for the stadium. And I remind you of this, okay, that, hey, I'm going to say hi to everybody in a second, but I remind everybody of this, that the Southern Nevada Tourism and Investment Act calls for the Raiders, the developer, to provide, quote, adequate, unquote, amount of the total infrastructure, off-site transportation infrastructure cost identified by the Nevada Department of Transportation. It's right there in the law, okay? So the Raiders can't escape it. They could maybe try to go to legislature, have that removed. Good luck with that. But given the other money needs of the state, that ain't happening soon. And since there's more pressure on the state to come up with the money, given this law, that applies to the Raiders, or that obviously impacts the Raiders. So what we have is even more certainty that this project is going to go north of $2,550 million. And I remind you that Bank of America is not paying for any cost overruns, and the Raiders have not identified who is going to cover that gap, that growing gap over the $1.9 billion that this project is not only projected to cover, but I tell you, that's an estimate, because no one knows what the actual price is going to be until sometime next year when the guaranteed maximum price is released. All right, now, and with that, I'll get to your comments in the chats here. And hey, Barry Lee, how are you? Hey, T. Cooper, Champ's here. The champ is here. The champ is here. And let's see here. The champ is here. Let's see here. The champ is here. The champ is here. So we've got T. Cooper here. Jack Bauer is here. Can we still stay in Oakland? Yes. And we not only, and I want to address that as well. Forever Oakland. And nice to have everybody here. Joseph Binsman, Joseph True, Jack Bauer, Wiggle Babies, Go CSU Rams, Crawford 371. Coog Snipe is here. How you doing? I should have done this at the plank. Anyway, Donis Giorgio is here. Wiggle Babies, Barry Lee, and boy, they all are here. Eric Bradley. Eric Bradley asks, is it possible help from Trump to somehow a double-edged sword to keep the Raiders in Oakland? That is how this is going to work out. Without question is how it's going to work out. Not only that, you know what? Donald Trump could just basically throw a fit and decide that he's going to put out an executive order calling for a moratorium on public funding for, NFL stadiums until this whole issue regarding the national anthem is worked out. Donald Trump is that kind of guy. Donald Trump is that kind of guy. All right. Now, do I think that'll happen? No. Do I think it's very possible? I think it's extremely possible. I think it's extremely possible. One moment, please. Okay. I think it's extremely possible that could occur. Something else, too, that now, and Go CSU says, what Donald Trump is doing better be helping Oakland keep the Raiders and ruin Las Vegas. And Crawford says 45 is looking for those California votes in 2020. Interesting. Wiggle Baby says Bernie and Trump, only ones that kept talking about building up infrastructure. Trump just says a lot of stuff, though. Lots of talking. Yeah, the last person who actually did anything about building our infrastructure up was President Obama. T. Cooper says, denied! Let's see here. Joseph Binsman says, yeah, but only one actually meant what they said and wasn't a con man, Wiggle Babies. Bernie was the populist who actually cared about people. Joseph Binsman says, Cali will slam him again in 2020, talking about Trump. Talking about Trump, just like 2016. And Wiggle Baby says, Bernie was the man. MIO. Okay. All right. And so Donis says that would prioritize the highways. No thanks. Bone Thug 1408. Hello, Zennie. I enjoy your info. Nick in San Jose. Stay in Oakland. Thank you, Nick in San Jose. And welcome to Zennie 62 Online Live. Thank you. Or Zennie 62 Daily Vlog Live. And Eric Bradley asks a great question. What kind of relationship does Trump have with Sheldon Adelson, if any? He has a personal relationship that is, I would say, over the long term, great, but of late strained, considering Trump's actions regarding that could be considered as anti-Semitic. I don't have to guess. I know Mr. Adelson has a problem with that, being a staunch supporter of all causes related to the Jewish faith and to Israel. So I know for a fact that Mr. Adelson would be ready to put his fist through the wall over some of the things that Trump has allowed done. So that said, does that impact their relationship in a way where Adelson wants nothing to do with him? I would have to say no, because right now he's president of the United States, and if you want to learn to what degree Adelson had influence over Trump, just look at the photographs from the inauguration and see who was sitting behind President Trump as he was speaking on the dais that day. Sheldon Adelson was, I believe, to my right, your left, okay? Or actually my right, your right, okay? To his right. So is it to his right or to his left? No, it's to his left. Yeah, to his left. So to his right, which would be the left. Turn that around. So anyway, yeah, they have a very personal relationship. So there you go. Chicago's at the Green Bay 35-yard line. Wait, who's the quarterback now? Is it, let's lean over. Did they put in Mitch Trubisky for Mike Glennon? Or do they just leave, knowing John Fox, he might have left Glennon in there. They have got 8 minutes, and they 8 minutes in the fourth quarter and counting. All right. And it's, let's see, 7 and 35 and 7. God, what a horrible score. The Bears ought to be ashamed of themselves. My goodness. Now, Georgia says, about Puerto Rico, if I were Trump, I would focus on that place. It would be, hey, taking that Jones Act action was smart. And the Bears did not score. They're calling for pass interference. They did not get it. And let's see here. It is now, yeah, 3rd down and 7. Trying to bend over to see the, yeah, 3rd down and 7. And he was wide open, actually. Just the ball was thrown late. Got to work on those things. Okay, now, still glinting? Okay, it's still glinting. Oh, man, that's horrible. All right. Wiggle Baby says, it's always, T. Cooper says, it could happen, Zennie. Wiggle Baby says, always about his ego. He will do what he wants. Doesn't matter with party or principles. No, that's true. I mean, he's not acting like a president. And Steve Mace says, did I miss any stadium news? Just what I was talking about was that President Trump's pulling back from his highway public-private partnership makes the Raiders deal in Las Vegas more expensive. Also, I want to double down on some assertions I made regarding this news about the JPA and the theft of my story. First of all, I said this before in the video I released earlier today, and I'll repeat it. I didn't get my information from Scott McKibben. I got my information from someone who's basically one of a number of Scott's bosses, all right? And I see these folks out and about, and we talk. And that's how I got the information from the person. And I'm not going to say where I ran into the person, because if you know the person, that may be a dead giveaway in and of itself. Anyway, the information told to me now about a month ago, feels like 3 weeks ago, well, a month ago, was that, 3 weeks ago, was that the Oakland Raiders were seeking an extension at least to 2019 and maybe 2020. Now, what I found really fishy was that the article in the other newspaper that was released, or news, whatever they call themselves now, that was released on Monday, basically followed my pattern. But it didn't say maybe, it said possibly. Possibly and maybe are the same thing. 2020. And then Scott turned around, I guess the rich guy from Las Vegas Review-Journal called him, and he says, well, I never talked to Bourdain. Yeah, but he's not the only person talking to Mark Bourdain. Okay, he didn't, but that provides Scott McKibben with cover. Okay, because Scott can say, hey, wasn't me, I didn't do it, wasn't me. But on the other hand, if that's the case, why did he say what he said? He had to know it from someone, right? The Raiders are engineering a situation where they want to have a convenient back door, but they don't want anybody in Las Vegas knowing about it. You cannot hide that sort of thing today, especially when it's quite obvious to anyone who knows what to look for that the deal is screwed up. It really is. And let's see here. Giorgio says about 2022, maybe, but here's the point. Oh, the Bears made a score. It's 35-13. Let's see if they come back. Okay, Barry Lee says, no, Steve, Zennie is talking about Trump and how he wants states to start paying for infrastructure and road improvements. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Barry. Yeah, that's it, Steve. And I'm sorry if I didn't make that comment, but that's what I was talking about. And that it puts more pressure on the Raiders to pay for that, or to be forced to pay for that. The law says that they have to some, quote, adequate amount, unquote. And let's see here. Oh, go CSU Rams says that he is getting grief because of the Raiders-Broncos game this weekend. All right, oh boy. Steve Macy's chiming in. Mr. Macy, before he does, hey, it's Pedro Gallardo. How you doing, Pedro? Pedro asks, why don't the Raiders get more sponsors like the Falcons for a stadium? If Oakland is booming economically, what's the holdup? Well, first of all, Pedro, that's a really great question. The Raiders have put themselves into a massive bind that goes all the way back to 2011. And that was when the great Oakland Raiders owner Al Davis passed away. That was October 9th, if memory serves, of 2011, okay? October 8th. Now, the very next day, rather than announce a commitment to Oakland and a commitment to build a new stadium, Mark Davis did the opposite. And he made noises about wanting to go to Los Angeles. Now, why is that important? It's important for this reason. Because when you're talking about sponsorship revenue, the first thing that any potential sponsor wants to know, corporate sponsor wants to know with respect to putting their name on something, is how long the team is going to be in that facility. Why is that important? Because the more, if that team is in the facility, and that team, say the Raiders, generates millions of impressions online, millions of eyeballs per month from television, all of that helps the brand, the sponsor brand, gain exposure, right? So you want them to pay for that, right? Okay, so you want them to pay for that, but ideally you want them to do it over a multi-year period. But if you're only going to be there for 1 or 2 years, it's not worth their while to have you carrying their brand for just 1 or 2 years and then dropping you, because you become your team becomes an indelible part of that brand. Like AT&T putting its name on the Cowboys Stadium, for example, or as you talk about Mercedes-Benz and the Falcons, or Mercedes-Benz in Louisiana Superdome, right? We come to identify Mercedes-Benz now with those two, NFL organizations. So, similarly, you want a situation where they're going to be a permanent partnership, and for as long as they can. Now, what happened with the Raiders was this, Pedro, that the minute Mr. Davis, Mark Davis, the son of Al Davis, started the LA Talk, he installed automatic instability. What do I mean? Well, we don't know if the Raiders are going to be here in Oakland for this long. So it's Los Angeles, and then they started entertaining a new stadium, but they don't really wrap their whole body around it for Oakland, right? Then it's San Antonio, right? Then it's Carson. Then it's Las Vegas. And that's gone on since 2011. Let's say that Mark Davis did it a different way, like this, the way it should have been done. The minute Mr. Davis passes away, the next day Davis gives a press conference and, among other things, says, "My father loved Oakland. The Oakland Raiders are Oakland. I say to everyone here that I am firmly committed to keeping the team in Oakland and building a stadium right here in Oakland for Oaklanders to be proud of." Had he said that, it would have not only energized Oakland, obviously, but it would have sent a signal that he was ready to commit himself to a long-term process toward a new stadium, which would lead to negotiations for a type of lease deal that would cause the conversation and planning for and pre-development work for and marketing of a new stadium, complete with, models and videos and, all kinds of nice photographs and pretty pictures, right? The kind of thing that sends the signal that, hey, the Raiders are committed to building in Oakland in an exciting way. You do all of that, and then you can go to a sponsor like Farmers Insurance or Apple next door across the way and make a presentation. But the Raiders didn't do it that way. The Raiders didn't do it that way. And not only that, the Raiders have not hired, and I'm speaking from some knowledge of the situation, the Raiders have not hired sponsorship people who are tech friendly. I've met some of them. And you would think, well, you got all of these startup companies. Here's how I would do it, okay? You have the stadium like this one, right? And actually, this behind me is a fair example of what I'm talking about. Okay, let me show you what I mean. All right, hold on a second. Hey, Barry. Hey, Barry. Good night. Sorry I didn't see that. Good night, Barry. Okay, this is the stadium, right? Coliseum, right here. Okay, East Suites, Upper West Concourse, 300 level plan. Right, that's right here. Okay, so this is the temporary, but let's say the 200 level, as you go in here toward the 200 level, you could have on the 200 level setup where people could see, kiosks representing tech companies, and the tech companies could pay for those little spaces, right? Maybe you lay out $1,000 per game or something like that. So maybe you have $1,000 per game. You have these different little booths, and you offer it as a package where either companies could buy them on a per company basis, per booth per company, or one company could come along like an Apple and buy the whole shebang, or Facebook, or what have you. What kind of kiosk? Whatever they want to set up. Anyone who's been to TechCrunch events or CES events like Startup Alley knows what I'm talking about in terms of those areas where startups can show off what they're doing, right? That kind of thing. So the Raiders could certainly set that up, share some of the revenue with the Coliseum folk, right? Have never done that. Never done that. And not only that, that's something that they could do right now to this day. Haven't done it, okay? Haven't done it. Sponsorships are deals. There's no one way to craft the deal. There isn't one way. Although that does remind me of something. Let me, as a part of a joke, let me show you what that is. It's not really a joke. Oh, excuse me. Doggone it. Sorry about that. Boy, oh boy. This phone has seen better days if I keep doing that. Oh, sorry about that, folks. Hey, how you doing? Rick Gray. Sorry about that, folks. We're here, and we're back. As I was saying, I had this tethered to the phone. Let me get this. One moment, please. Do I still have it? Maybe I don't. Don't have it. Thought I had it, but I don't. What do I do with it? Oh, that sucks. Thought I had it. Maybe it's around here someplace. Maybe I got rid of it. I don't know. Oh, whatever. Thought I had it. Maybe I should send it to the White House. Have it autographed. Oh, whatever. Alright. Can't find it. It's around someplace. Oh, man. That does hurl. Really thought I had it. Where is it? Maybe it's this. No, it's not. Oh, but I'll use this anyway. Okay. Alright. Alright, folks, I'm back. Hold on a second. Let me put this mic on. I'm back. I was looking for a famous book I had called The Art of the Deal. By Donald Trump. I do have that book. Can't find it. It's around here somewhere. Unless, of course, I accidentally threw it away, which I doubt. So anyway, since I don't have that, I do have this. The Agent. That's right. From Lee Steinberg, my friend. Now, I highly recommend this book because it talks about making deals. And this is Lee Steinberg's been a long-time friend of mine. Trying to get him back on the show. Doggone it. Will eventually. Probably feels like he's got too many things to talk about that he probably doesn't want on the air. I understand that. But my point is that look, these are deals, Pedro, and I'm still answering. I'm still on the task of answering Pedro's question. These are deals, and what you want to have happen is a situation for a corporation to be able to sign on long-term to a deal. Hey, Ruben Ortiz, how are you? That's what you're looking for. And what's going on is the Raiders are not getting that situation when you're consistently doing this. Where are we going to move next? Where are we going to move next? Where are we going to move next? Because there's no permanence. If you look at all of the stadium naming rights agreements that are large, all of them have long-term associations with their facilities. 20 years, some of them are 30 years, okay? Maybe the company doesn't last that long. Okay, fine. You have that, written into the contract. But what you also have is an understanding that if the company does last that long, then they are tied into paying those annual payments, your yearly payments each year, right? That's the idea. So, and that's how teams make their money, and that money goes a long way toward paying for top-notch talent, top-notch players. That's what you want to have happen. You can't do that at all if you are consistently trying to move someplace, because again, that's not what any corporate sponsor wants. Now, on the other hand, the Falcons are committed to and have signed a non-relocation agreement to affirm their commitment to Atlanta. And so they're going to be there for 30 years, barring some development. Not only that, Atlanta, and again, Pedro, I'm answering your question. Not only that, Atlanta has a huge number of the largest firms in the world and in America as headquartered right there. I haven't seen the latest list. And so Rick Gray asks, could you show your grid of all costs associated with the Vegas Stadium again? Isn't interest part of the payback debt, and shouldn't that be added to the cost? And so that's a good question. Hey, Jacob P., how are you? I'll get to that in a second. And I'll get to the whole Broncos question in a second. I want to get Pedro's question out of the way, and the reason why I do is, first of all, it's a very good one, and I want to make sure that it's given the kind of attention that it deserves, and hopefully he's still here to hear it and didn't bail out when I accidentally dropped the phone. So I got to work on that too. Sometimes I suppose it's entertaining though, right? Oh, by the way, folks, don't forget this when you have a chance, invest. And I thank Cliff Goldberg for his investment today as well. Okay, so now back to the questions and points. All right. And as far as the grid, I have what I'll do. Rick Gray, I need to make a new grid. I have one that I did before that didn't include the parking costs. So I need to update the grid. But in terms of interest part of the payback, let me clarify something. In terms of what the Raiders have to pay for, the interest has to be, oh, I know what you get at my spreadsheet. Let me call that up. Because the interest the Raiders have to pay for is related to the Bank of America loan, not to Las Vegas Stadium's loan. That has to do with hotel tax. So the way it works is the $750 million the Raiders don't touch. There are others in the media who write as if the $750 million can be used for some other purpose. Whoever writes that is to be called an idiot upon first sight. That is wrong. The $750 million is to go to construction, and it is written in law that the public contribution is capped at 39% of total cost. Construction cost. Okay? Period. Because I've seen that written before. And I'm not going to say who wrote it, except the person with respect to this platform insists on being a pest. That information is wrong. Understand? Flat out wrong. The $750 million goes to building the stadium, nothing else. Now, who pays it? Clark County pays for it by way of the higher hotel tax, the stadium portion. The basically 88/100ths of 1% increase, which should have been a 1.4% increase, but I digress. All right. Now, that amount is of concern. Not only that, have you noticed? Has anyone noticed this? Because I'm going to follow up on this tomorrow. Has anyone seen a quote from Steve Sisolak or anybody about what the latest stadium hotel tax revenue is? Has anyone seen that? Because I haven't seen it. Have you? I haven't seen it. And that makes me very suspicious when I don't see those numbers quoted again and again and again. So Rick Gray asks, but that is overall cost they must pay back, right? So isn't that debt owed? What do the Raiders owe minus $750 million? The Raiders only owe Bank of America $850 million plus the interest. Now the interest is LIBOR, that's about 4.49%, okay? And yeah, I did calculate that out. But the Raiders have nothing to do with the $750 million. I do have that breakdown, Rick Gray, and let me get it right now. Just bear with me, and I'll call it right up. Remember that old Popeye? It goes, "Open says me, open sesame." You know, "Open says me." I don't know. What made me think about that is I'm opening this document, and whatever. Popeye was a stupid cartoon, boy. I had girlfriends with bigger muscles than Popeye. Seriously, I did. But anyway, and they were cute too. So don't go getting ideas. But let's see here. What we got here? All right, Raiders. I'm getting the spinning wheel of death. That's why I'm since the hesitation. Okay. Oh, the 39% is in the law. That's it's also in the SNTIC documents. So if you want an easy way of discovering this, go to Google and type SNTIC, then 39% stadium construction. All right, and you'll see the results you get, including PDF document, including the PDF files, will refer to what I'm talking to you about. All right, let's check that out. Now let's see here. I'm in the throes of going for this spreadsheet so I can call up what Rick Gray is asking me about. And it's the RAM. My RAM is taxed. My random access memory is taxed. Okay, see you later. There. My random access memory is taxed. Okay. And let's see here. We've got, all right. Okay. Oh, Bank of America loan. Oop, boy, I went right by it. Had it and I went right by it. Hold on a second, Rick Gray. There it is. Raiders Stadium Authority. No, it's a spreadsheet. Come on, man. I'll keep scrolling down. Why won't it give me what I want? It focused right on it and then it skipped right over it, which is bothersome at points. So okay, not there. It says all files. Let me try something else. All files. Give me XLS documents. And come on. XLS. I want a spreadsheet. I want something formatted like Excel. And it's not giving me that. There it is, Excel. Got it. All right, now. Okay. Current file type, Microsoft Excel. Okay, and Raiders lot. Wait a minute. I saw it. Raiders Las Vegas spreadsheet, previous 7 days. Raiders Las Vegas spreadsheet. Okay, hold on a second, Rick Gray. I believe I have found what you're talking about. Open. This is what I'm doing right now. And it is getting that spinning wheel. But the spinning wheel means it's actually opening, all right? And da, 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 it's almost opening. Yeah, I could have closed a number of files. Should have, but I didn't. Okay, here we go. Alrighty then. Okay, here we go, folks. This is it. This is it. And I just want to make sure. Yep, this is the one. This is the one. This is the one. Got it. Okay. This is it. Right here. Rick Gray. Boom. Las Vegas. Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas, NFL Stadium proposal spreadsheet. Zennie Abraham with Bank of America loan. Off-site transit infrastructure cost at $450 million. No additional debt other than SNTIC projection. Okay, and so these are the costs. All right, that's construction costs there. Okay, construction costs there. It's base land infrastructure, off-site transportation per NDOT. Right, $450 million. This is the parking at per Clark County. See that? That's the relocation fee. This is the practice facility. That's the contingency. So we have $2,915 million right there. $2,915 million. Okay, so there that is. $2,915 million. Okay, so there that is. Now that's greater than 2.550 billion. So I will correct that. But there it is. These are the current funding sources. The team investment of $500 million. The public investment of $750 million. This is the Bank of America loan at $850 million in total funding sources, all right? And there's the net. That's the nets. That's because the funding sources equal $2,100 million, and then there's this cost of total project cost, right, of $2.915 billion. There is your shortfall, negative $815 million, all right? Let's go back. Over here, let's just scroll down a bit, okay? Over here we have total annual event revenues, total annual non-event revenues, which total $1,243 million, right? We've got estimated stadium operating expenses, okay? $646 million. This comes from the SNTIC, all right? These are all researchable, okay? Then we've got debt service and capital, debt service from SNTIC model, all right, which I set to 0. Why? Because I really don't know if that debt's going to come, to play. So I left it at 0. I left it at 0, okay? Now, I left that at 0. Now we have Bank of America development loan debt, that's loan plus LIBOR, which is approximately 4%, just over 4%, or this is what the Raiders have to pay back. Rick Gray, are you listening? Rick Gray, this is what the Raiders have to pay back right here, okay? So LIBOR, I calculated at 4.14%. You see that? LIBOR is London Interbank Rate. That's LIBOR, okay? Now, I didn't calculate it. That's what I felt it would be set at. Now, this is the capital expenditure, $75 million, and there's your total. Total debt service and capital over a 30-year period is this, okay? Now, from that, because we have our stadium operating revenue, which is here, right? Stadium operating revenue. Then we've got, okay, debt service and capital. And from that, operating revenue, then we have the estimated stadium operating expenses, right, which are here. And that's from SNTIC Doc Note 4. That's here. That's $646 million, which is right here. Okay, $646 million, right? So basically, the net operating income for the stadium is at a surplus here of $597 million, right? But then we add the debt service and capital, and that's what gets us into trouble, because the total's $960 million. This is the impact, folks, of the Bank of America thing, all right? Again, all right, this is the impact of the Bank of America loan that the Raiders have to pay back. You understand? Okay, now, so that is $960 million over a 30-year period. That gives us a negative $332 million in free operating stadium cash flow, all right? And then total project operating cash flow is negative. This is an operating loss of $1.177 billion, okay? And a return on investment of a negative 40.39%, all right? Now, let me explain something that's absolutely critical to the understanding of this project and absolutely critical to the understanding of the impact of Sheldon Adelson's departure. Hope Rick Gray, did you see that, Mr. Gray? Look, Robert Goldstein, the chief operating officer of Las Vegas Sands, said on September 8th of 2016 at the Southern Nevada Tourism and Infrastructure Committee meeting that Las Vegas Sands, Sheldon Adelson, as the founder and CEO, would pay for all cost overruns and operating losses. What I showed you was an operating loss that had Las Vegas Sands not been chased away. You understand? They would have paid for. Okay? They would have paid for that. That operating loss includes the transportation infrastructure obligations that I showed you that are off-site, as well as the negative debt service situation from the Bank of America loan, which you could take out the loan if Adelson was in there. If you took out the loan from Adelson was in there, they still would have been at a loss because of the transportation issue, but the losses would have been less. How much less? Let me show you. Let me show you. And then by seeing this, you'll understand the full impact of Adelson being pushed out. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Here, okay? So right here, that's the debt service and capital. So let's just for a moment, all right, set this at 0, okay? Boom. That's it. Because you have Adelson, so you don't need the Bank of America loan. So this is what the impact is, right? So now we're at negative 292, right? For free operating project cash flows here, right? But free stating operating cash flow is positive, okay? All right? So the total project operating cash flow is only negative here because of the transportation infrastructure cost problem of 615 that's here, right? And the only reason, because of all these costs heaped up on by transportation, parking, and that sort of thing, all right? But the whole point is that Las Vegas Sands was going to cover this. But, okay? But Las Vegas Sands is not here. All right? So now I've got to go back and I've got to discard the changes I made in the spreadsheet, all right? Close the spreadsheet and then reopen it later, okay? You see what I'm getting at? Rick Gray says, I can't wait to get to 3 or 4, which I guessed in March. Yeah, I mean, this is a big problem. And again, it illustrates the impact of what happens when you chase away someone who is your investment benefactor. And then the media reported, and the media has really screwed this up. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The media has really screwed this up. This illuminates what happens when you have a media that doesn't know how to run numbers. Because the media said, oh, well, Bank of America is going to replace Sheldon Adelson. Ellie McCabe says, hey, look, we're only offering $850 million and no more. We're not covering overruns. Which means that, hey, the Raiders are screwed. The problem with this project is what I just showed you. And it's staring them right in the face. Right in the face. The parking alone is at $200 million and it's going north. how high it will go is limited only by the fortune that the Raiders could achieve in negotiating a land deal with someone that's below market value per acre. Ratza, ruck, where that Roy. Ratza, ruck, where that Roy. In other words, what I said was lots of luck with that boy. Welcome to Zennie 62. We're talking about the economics of the stadium, the Las Vegas Raiders stadium deal, and the role of Donald Trump. And that's what we're talking about here. And happy to continue taking your many questions and comments, reasonable ones, of course. But I am making just some adjustments in how the page here is tagged, meta tagged, as I speak to you. This is why I'm looking down for a moment as I talk. But one of our standard viewers, Rick Gray, asked about the debt situation, what the Raiders pay back, and that's what I was explaining to him. The Raiders have no jurisdiction over the payback of the $750 million bond issue. That's not their area. But they are impacted by it. And again, I haven't seen any recent information regarding the September hotel revenues from the hotel tax. And I know the ones for August, if memory serves, were rather razor thin. In fact, no, you know what? I haven't seen those either. So we're missing data on total stadium hotel tax revenue from August and from September. Ooh. And I say that way because Sisolak was always this big cheerleader about, talking about how they were over the estimates and all that stuff, and all of a sudden we don't see anything from him. What's going on, Mr. Sisolak? Hey, just curious. What's happening? What's happening? Just wondering. Just wondering. So, hold on a second. I'll get to your questions. And so we have, it's been since July, Tony? Philip says it's been since July. That's even more ugly. July was the end of the fiscal year. But hey, look, the bond issue doesn't stop then. You have to pick it up and continue. That's the way I understand it. So it's a little crazy that they would stop it right now, more than a little crazy, all right? More than a little crazy. 33 watching now. So we've got something here where you guys can see the chat for some all of a sudden reason I can't see it. So I'm going to restart my computer, which will not impact this live stream. So just bear with me for a moment. But I think what happened was that the RAM of my computer was really being just sucked up, okay? By the way, I'm going to pull an uncompensated plug for Lee Steinberg's book, Art of the Deal. And if you're on Twitter, tweet this out with @Lee Steinberg, just to let him know that I'm talking about his book. Okay. So hey, get on Zennie's show. You know what I mean? All right. So Rick Gray says, I'm confused about the PSL monies that go to the Raiders and Nevada taxpayers. Hey, James McClendon, I'll be right. It wasn't James. Hold on a second. If I didn't see your comments, it's because I've got this RAM that's clogging up my computer pages from refreshing. So I'm restarting my computer right now, and I will then locate and read your comments. So, but I'm not. When I say starting the computer, this is what I mean. Okay, just so you have a nice visual. Okay, this is what I'm doing. See the apple? It's restarting. All right. All right. So, all right. So, Eric says somebody but knows that I'm on to him with a hotel tax. What are you talking about, Sisolak? Oh, good. He's not my only source of information. It's just fun to counter his tweets. I mean, because look, they had a long-term slide. I mean, you didn't have to be a genius to see it. They made more money the first year, then less the first month, excuse me, then less the second month, then less than that the third month, then less than that the fourth month. It was like, woo! I mean, the projection was going down. So it's logical to think that at some point it's going to hit bottom. And maybe that's what happened. He was like, oh shoot, that Zennie is right, man. Some people like to hit the messenger, you know what I mean? Sorry. But a bad deal is a bad deal. Great coffee. A bad deal is a bad deal. That's right. Bad deal is a bad deal. Someone commented on my page, oh, it's going to be 2020. It's definitely going to be 2020. You know how stupid that is? Let me tell you how stupid that is. Why in that, Jacob P., you're 15 years old. I won't curse. Why in the blazes would anybody, as much as I want to curse, why in the blazes would anybody want to just push for a 2020 opening when they don't even live in Las Vegas to begin with? And not only that, you would want to push a project that has problems to try to even be constructed with those problems, knowing that those problems are unsolvable in some cases without extra money and time, which is what we're talking about here. Okay? And that's stupid. Anybody who says, just to counter me, oh, it's definitely 2020 is stupid. Just plain flat out stupid. It's a construction project. This is not a game. It's some of the same people who are like, oh, well, everyone's definitely going to vote for it. And as I said before, the vote, hey, if they vote for it, it's a stupid deal. It's a dumb deal. It's not going to work, and I'm going to laugh. And I did. I laughed. Just like that. Because the problems that I said were going to emerge before they voted on the deal, folks, they're structurally there and they're not going away. They're not going away. You need $1.177 billion to deal with them. And Bank of America is not going to deal with, they're not going to cover the operating losses that Las Vegas Sands said they were going to cover. And that is a stark, that alone marks the stark difference between these deals with Adelson and without. With Adelson, we're going to cover all cost overruns and operating losses. Without Adelson, Bank of America, we ain't doing that. Oh no, we ain't doing that. We're going to give you $850 million, man. That's it. You have to pay me back that loan. $850 million. It's a LIBOR. It'll be $885 million total. You just gonna have to pay it back. You know, you have to be, you're gonna give me back. Yeah, give me all my money. Or I have your team. So that's what they're looking at. And then it gets worse because they've got that, right? And they still $1 billion over. Excuse me, in the red. Right? With nobody to help them out. Then you have to turn around and say, okay, well, who's going to help us out? So you have somebody coming from who knows what, from some who knows where, saying, well, we're happy to loan Mark Davis the money for parking. $200 million, right? Loan. What does that mean, folks? It means interest rate, right? What does that mean? They might even slap a payday loan rate on something like 30%. Boy, that would be definitely Mo Green territory. Man, oh man. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? That's a situation the Raiders are in. Now, you call yourself a Raider fan. Why do you want to see the Raiders in a bad situation like that? You are not a fan if you want to see the Raiders screw up like that, because that's precisely what's going to happen. You want to have faith in something? Have faith in Jesus Christ, not in the deal working out. If a deal doesn't work, the one thing this guy, Lee Steinberg, consistently says, don't be afraid to walk away from a bad deal. Lee Steinberg, okay? Don't be afraid to walk away from a bad deal. I'm certain President Trump would say the same thing. Politics aside, the man does have a deal-making strategy. He's not a billionaire for nothing. You know? He's not an accidental billionaire. All right. So, look, this is a deal with problems. You cannot wish the problems away. You can pray to God the problems go away, but there's something about this deal that I don't think God has any real stake in trying to make work perfectly. If he did, you know what? The problems that I'm talking about wouldn't have existed to begin with. If the Raiders wanted to do the deal the right way, from a Vegas perspective, you know what they should have done? They should have taken the Cashman site, but they didn't do that. You know why? Because they were partnered with Adelson and Adelson's people had said, hey, look, in fact, this is written in black and white in the minutes from the SNTIC meetings of last year. Take a look at the meetings, I believe July 18th, okay? And July 28th, June 28th and July 18th, somewhere there, July 14th. But Rod Goldstein, all right? Oh, wait, I got to hear John Fox. Hold on a second. This is John Fox.
We'll look at everything.
John Fox is...
not just the quarterback position.
You hear that?
We continue on here on the Mazda postgame show. 3 Super Bowl champions, Willie McGinnis, DeMarcus Ware, David.
John Fox says we'll look at everything, not just the quarterback position. Offensive coordinator? Just wondering. Anyway, my point is that, well, it's just that. You cannot at all discount that the impact of Adelson leaving and the cost overrun situation. That is the main issue here, among others. Everything else, that's the main issue. Now, okay. And as Tony Piling says, all that in the Coliseum is sitting. Simple mathematics. Let me go back, as I promised I would do, and find Mr. McClendon's comments. And I'm going to go there right now. I'm doing that right now, Mr. McClendon. Give me a chance. And I don't see your 5 comments here. Unless I see something that was... yeah, I don't see the comments at all. So do I see your 5? I don't. Hold on a second. For some particular reason, it's not letting me go back further. Wait a minute. Hold on. And, yeah, this is not letting me go back further. And I don't see them. So can you repost them? Now, if it included something in the nomenclature that was a bad word, and maybe they were just auto deleted. Just saying. Okay. Now, Baller says, hey, Zennie, do you think that extending the Raiders' lease is because of the lawsuit and when the statute of limitations? No, not at all. Nothing's been filed at all. And so Rick Gray says, I'm confused by PSL monies. Does that go to the Raiders or to Nevada tax payback? That goes to Nevada tax payback. That goes to, that PSL money is thought of as the Raiders' contribution through the PSL. So the way it works is this. In order to buy a season ticket, you have to buy a personal seat license. So let's say you spend $4,000, right? That $4,000 is collected by Clark County / Las Vegas Stadium Authority, all right? And they give that to the bond underwriter, the organization that's holding the bond issue, okay? And they in turn pay off the annual debt service associated with the bond issue, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million, okay? So that's how that works. Now that bond issue in turn is the $750 million is principal plus the interest payments, okay? That's what that total debt service of $50 million is annually, and that comes out to, the way that they did it, I think it comes out to somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.250 billion, somewhere in there, because they did it at a low coverage ratio. As it happens, they did it at the low coverage ratio in terms of what they needed, but yeah, they did it at a low coverage ratio, but the interest rate is such that it's $50 million. 5 times 3 is 15. $1.5 billion. That's what it is. So the total bond value is $1,500,000,000, and that's what's paid for out of the hotel tax, but it has to clear the amount that I'm telling you about. If it doesn't, then you are gaining less money than is needed to pay back the bond issue. And in order to make up that gap, the bond underwriter would have to then go to Clark County / the Las Vegas Stadium Authority with a request for additional funding, which would then have to go to the Clark County Board of Commissioners to approve, to be drawn from its general fund. That's how that does. And basically the way the bond is written, for all intents and purposes, because they agreed to the contract, the county can't say no. All right? But they have to do that to keep the bond from going into default. But if that happened, and this is why it's so important to find out what that hotel tax information is right now, because if there's any hint of that money going below the $50 million annual hurdle rate, then the general fund is already of Clark County is already threatened to be tapped into. And there would be political hell to pay for that. All right? And that would definitely wreck or severely damage, but I would say wreck, Steve Sisolak's ability to be governor. So, all right. Now, Rick Gray says, so really the Raiders looking at sponsorship revenue to pay back the overruns and any amounts over the $750 million. Are they looking for sponsors like naming rights, concession rights, and end zone rights? Well, Rick Gray, in the quote that the spreadsheet, I got that information from the SNTIC. They already parked in naming rights there. So that's a full and complete representation of the known expected monies from the project, known to the public, okay? That's what I was able to find. If anyone out there happens to find a spreadsheet of something that's up to date regarding the Raiders, send it to me. I don't care how you got it, send it to me. I'll reward you with pizza. Or shares, even more valuable. Now, so Rick Gray, you understand that's already there. So what I told you, that debt, I'm going to call up the spreadsheet again, is that debt is over and above what revenues they're already taking in, according to the SNTIC. They have to find a new funding source from someplace that's going to do that. But again, remember, they had Las Vegas Sands to cover that. And they chased Las Vegas Sands away. The question is, are they trying to get Las Vegas Sands back? Las Vegas Sands doesn't have to want to deal with them, the Raiders. The situation is that right now, as I speak, it's September 28th, going to 29th. My mom turns older October 1st. Happy birthday, Mom. Yay. And so, I was thinking my mom, excuse me. So, basically, you have, let's see, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. You have another 8 months. You have 8 months until the 16th. Okay? 8.5 months, if you like. 8.5 months. I can't do my pinky halfway like that. Yeah, 8.5 months. Okay? 5, 8. Okay, again. October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, half, 16th, all right? There you go. You have 8.5 months. That's the deadline. The Raiders have to get all their act together and paperwork and everything in 8.5 months. Or the project is such that the University of Nevada, Las Vegas could call for the governor to give the project entirely to them. The hotel tax would remain in place. The percentage take per month will be reduced. All right, on a per hotel basis will be reduced, but it will still be there. And at that point, my prediction is that Sheldon Adelson would come along and write a check for everything. Having gotten the Raiders out of the way, yet still being able to build a stadium. Okay? Now here's a big issue. The Raiders own the land right now. The architect belongs to the Raiders. The designs belong to the Raiders. Could UNLV use those designs? I don't think so. They'd have to start all over. They would have the funding in place. And the benefactor, they would have to start all over. Meanwhile, the Raiders could take their plans and do much as they did with Carson. Guess what? Those things can wind up in Oakland, man. We could have, you know, that's why I'm saying, got to take that Las Vegas design and then put it in the Coliseum and say, hey, how does that look, man? And leave it domed. Not open air. Leave it domed, I say. All right. Moving along, because I had to find Mr. McClendon's stuff here. And right at the greeting, Phoenix built more. Yep. Eric Madison says, I wonder if a new stadium in Oakland will be making a profit. The Raiders would love to see that. Oh, it'll be tremendous. Michael Madrano, Alex Jones, much. Rocky says, preach. Thank you. Rick Gray says, okay, so here's my burning question. Why, if this deal is so bad, are the Raiders pushing forward like there's no problem? What is the difference in team worth in Vegas or Oakland? The Raiders are pushing forth like there's no problem because, look, this is not a matter like anything else. No one's just going to say, oh, our deal sucks and therefore our finance is bad and all of that until it's absolutely necessary to do so. What this space, my space, is serving as is a warning sign, saying, hey, look, folks, we're in trouble. Hello. This is what's going to happen. It's going to happen soon, like next year. And I'm laying out to you the parameters of why. Okay? And the cost factor problem. Because again, and you know, you've heard Steve Sisolak say that with respect to parking. The solution is three. You have three solutions. Expensive, more expensive, more expensive, and really expensive. And that's it. And no, he never put a price tag on it. I'm putting a price tag on it. And I'm saying that at the very least, expensive is like, what, 150 million if you can get away with that at the market rate. More expensive is market rate at 195 million, 200 million, and beyond that is woo doggy. All right? That's just the parking issue alone. That says nothing about infrastructure improvements. That says nothing about the time it takes to move, let alone the actual cost to move that drainage channel, let alone how that alters the plans for the stadium, let alone the problems with ingress and egress with respect to taxis and Uber/Lyft vehicles, right? Rideshare vehicles. Whew. Let alone problems like digging a 20-foot, ditch as opposed to one deeper to be able to store water runoff and then dispatch it back to the reservoir. That's about what 5 miles away or something like that. You know, there are a lot of problems with that site. And you say, why that site? Because, hey, look, Las Vegas Sands originally wanted that location. That's how all this came up. They wanted something close to the Strip. Otherwise, Cashman site, I'm telling you, the Oaklanders are very lucky that this thing is not over at Cashman. Cashman's a better location. It can handle it. It can handle the traffic. That other one can't. The trouble is Cashman's away from everything. Okay? And I guess they just don't want to build around it, which I think is ridiculous. But that's, hey, you know what? You plan for stuff, that's what you can get. You plan for things, you can build a new town in town and have all these neat mixed-use development opportunities and flow of funds that help finance a stadium, all this neat stuff. But no, they got to do it the way that they want to do it, or at least the way that they thought they could do it when Adelson was involved. Whew. All right. There's your burning question. Okay. Jacob P says Jerry Jones is probably giving Mark money on the table. No, Jacob, why would Jerry Jones do that? Give money over and above the cost of the project if the project itself is not throwing off revenue to make such an investment inviting. Jerry Jones is not so rich at all that he's not like Sheldon Adelson. He doesn't have the money to just simply throw around like that. Jerry Jones is great at using other people's money. That's what he's done. And he used it in the case of the Cowboys Stadium. He used it in the case of the Frisco headquarters. And he admits it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, look, how many startups are created with other people's money? That happens. So, regularly, okay? I'm not dissing Jerry Jones for that. That's business. Okay? This fellow got back on his feet, do an investment. What is that but other people's money? Nothing wrong with that. And you get friends and family to invest in your startup. What is that? Other people's money. Okay, fine. Big deal. Someone buys something from you, or you invest in Zennie 62 Media. Same thing. And believe me, I'm happy for it. So, there's no shame there. But Jerry Jones does not have the money to waste. So when you hear people talk like that, what I'm asking you all to do is knock it off and think. This is Zenster stuff again, okay? Don't just say, oh, Jerry Jones is probably... Again, you guys make statements that bring people, some of you guys, or gals, too, bring people in as if they were Jesus Christ. Oh, Jerry Jones, oh, Jerry Jones, oh, Jerry Jones. Come on. That's infuriating. Jerry Jones, ask yourself the question, does Jerry Jones have that money to waste? No. No. What he will get out of the stadium if it's built through legends is not enough to justify $1 billion investment at once if you're not going to get anything close to $1 billion from that, even over a 10-year period. And folks, that's not happening. Okay? So there. Ruben Ortiz says, hey, Ruben asks, do you think Mark Davis will eventually sell the team? Have to sell the team? I think he should. I think Mark Davis is at a crossroads, and he needs to sit down and really ask himself this question. Do I really want to continue to drag my organization and its investors and fans through this, knowing I'm not going to make any money out of it in the end? Or do I want to turn around and deal in Oakland, where I know now I have the land that I wanted, that I coveted, and the freedom, because that land is available because of the A's, that I asked for so long, and build a stadium with an organization that already has an exclusive negotiating agreement? Okay? Hey, Mr. Patrick, thank you very much for your investment. Thank you. Thank you. He has to ask that. Or, that is his come to Jesus moment. That's what Mr. Davis has to sit down, with his mom. Say, hey, Mom, what do you think about this? Not anybody else, his mom. He's an only child like me. His mom. Give his mom the credit she deserves for having the final say over that future. I think that's what he ought to do, if you're asking me. Okay? Because as Tony Piling points out, all that in the Coliseum is sitting wide open. Simple mathematics. And really, it is simple mathematics. It really is. Rocky Mad Mobile asks, what other options that are open to the Raiders that are unknown? Further finance from the NFL? Yeah, but to what degree? That has to come from the owners. And, riddle me this. As Mark Cuban likes to say, what gain would I get as an owner out of contributing, say, there are 32 owners, right? Okay, so each one contributes $10 million to the Raiders. That's $320 million. Is that enough? No. So what do they have to contribute? Double that, $640 million. Could almost get you there, but you're starting to look at $20 million per owner. Okay, so what gets you there? So you say, okay, maybe we'll triple that, all right? And that would be the deal. But do they want to give up $30 million per owner on a per owner basis? Then you got to take out the Raiders. That's one of the 32 owners. Okay, so it's lessened by that much. So the cost starts going up per owner. And then it gets to a point where it becomes a question of, are we really going to see that money back? And if so, how are we going to see that money back? Are we going to see that money back through liberalized gambling laws? And when? Is there a piece of legislation on the table that we know is going to pass that assures that? Right now, no. Okay? These are the questions you have to ask when you're taking a foresighted view of a business decision like the one I'm talking about. All right? And then you have to turn around and say, okay, if I'm not certain of the kind of legalized gambling environment that there are some in New Jersey would hope materialize, right? Then if I'm not certain, am I making a bet now where I'm going to lose money? If there is an equal chance the legislation doesn't pass, the Supreme Court rejects it, and believe me, under these circumstances, folks, a conservative Supreme Court isn't necessarily your greatest ally, because then you start talking about social conservatism and conservatism indirectly seeping into these decisions. You have to read between the lines to find it, okay? If you have to deal with that, your best option is to not invest, because then it becomes a truly bad place to be. Why? Because if you're focused on, that expectation, it means that you're looking at the media market and you're saying, okay, wow, all these people are cutting the cords left and right. Subscription for cable's going down tremendously. Netflix has its challengers, and we're not even involved in Netflix, and the NFL ought to be on Netflix, but it's not. Another issue. Another issue. It ought to be on CBS All Access, as well. I can go on and on with these examples. So where are we going to get in our future the kind of gigantic media checks that ESPN, Cap Cities, and Fox and everybody else were willing to write for us in the past? Can we still guarantee that? Now, here is the nice thing that Donald Trump is doing for the NFL. Yes, I did say that. Here is the nice thing that Donald Trump is doing for the NFL. I'm going to repeat that one more time. I will. Here is the nice thing that Donald Trump is doing for the NFL. By talking about them, he's causing the game ratings to increase on a year-to-year relationship over last year by making them the focus. He's talking about them. From his bully pulpit of president, Donald Trump is actually saving the NFL. Even as much as people might think that he has something against the NFL, Donald Trump, and he knows this, is actually saving the NFL. He might say the ratings are going down. No, but he knows doggone well, but when he says that, it's going to go the opposite. All right? He's saving the NFL. And by that, he's actually assuring the NFL better negotiations with media partners when they come up. Not bad. It's not bad. That's not a bad position for the NFL to be in. All the NFL has to do is sit back and do what the NFL does. Resist. NFL resists. Donald Trump squawks. Ratings go up. NFL comes out looking great. Sets a better path for the future. Okay? Here's the thing. Going to Las Vegas is a net media negative in all that. So then you're asking, so my point is, if I know my media situation is going to be better, I am less reliant on the need for gambling. The question is how much less, and candidly, I don't have the exact answer to that question right now, but I will. I will. Okay? Raider Flea says, Joseph Smith says, wow, Rachel Maddow just talked about disturbing hire Trump might do. What is that? Raider Fleet says, Zennie, if the Raiders pull out now, do you see Vegas suing the Raiders? And if they do they have a case? Wow. Let's see. No, they don't. Because it would not be Las Vegas, but Clark County. That's the concern. And Clark County has engineered this deal to actually protect themselves and actually, if you like, benefit from the Raiders' departure. Why else would they write the SNTIA, the Southern Nevada Tourism and Investment Act, in such a way that the stadium hotel tax monies keep flowing through, and UNLV is given the option of taking over the project if the NFL team cancels out? Thank you for investment, Mr. Gray. By the way, folks, it's double shares night. If I didn't announce before, you invest tonight as others have done, you get double shares. Double shares. So, that's right. So you invest 20, it actually counts as $40, and so on. Now, the point that I'm making again is you have a gigantic problem here. You really do. But there's no incentive for Vegas to sue the Raiders. Why? Over what? They've engineered it in a number of different ways for the Raiders to leave, and they benefit. So why sue? They don't want them. They pretty much made that clear. If they wanted them, you know what? They would have given them even bigger check with development. In fact, if they wanted them, they wouldn't have choked on. Vegas choked on their own price tag. Now, what I mean by that is this. You know, the standard media types that don't know this thing have been focusing on it's 750 million, it's 750 million, without focusing on the fact that they chose a site, the Raiders in Las Vegas Sands, that requires a multi-billion-dollar investment to make it work over and above $750 million, because it's not ready for that kind of load of traffic onto it. All right? Now, the original plan was brilliant. Why? Because it called for a tax increment financing zone of 25 miles in diameter around the stadium location. Why is that important? And Majestic Realty, one of the two original partners, the other Las Vegas Sands, was prepared to build around the stadium. And they were going to use the tax increment money as a way of recouping their losses. But during the process of discussions during the SNTIC, the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee meetings, that got taken out. And so they said, you know what, they being Majestic says, you know what, we can't make any money here. And then Adelson said, hey, look, you don't have to be involved in this. You get out of here, I'll pay for the rest. That's pretty much how it went down. So they departed September 13th of last year. Did Majestic. But that was a terrible thing to have happen, because not only that, the reason why they departed was the tax increment revenue was taken away. Why? Because the whole conversation of capping public contributions came up. Now, what does that have to do? Easy. When you pay a property tax, you own a piece of land or building, you pay a property tax. That normally goes to the government. With tax increment financing, it go to the stadium authority, which could then issue bonds for acquisition of land or to help you out as a developer to build things and that sort of thing, right? And, okay. Now, if I'm taking money away from the government, what am I doing? I'm using public money. So I have to count that as part of the total percentage of public money that goes in the project. And elected officials, the mayor of Las Vegas and the chairman of the Clark County Board of Supervisors, Ms. Goodman and Mr. Sisolak, respectively, were very sensitive to that. And so pushed for a cap. And they got it, among others. They got it. They weren't the only ones that were sensitive to that. Governor Sandoval, who formed the commission. Okay? So you have this cap. But you're taking away tax increment financing dollars that, if, brought back in, could have been used to help pay for the costs that I'm talking about. But that was taken off the table. But the simple fact that they were originally needed underscores how underdeveloped the area around the stadium property and the stadium property itself is with respect to handling an NFL-sized stadium. That's not going to go away. You can't wish that away. All right. So, sorry, Zennie, I'm not a money man. When you pay, this is Rick Gray says, when you pay a house off, you seem to pay double the loan. Why wouldn't the Raiders' $850 million B of A loan cost more than $32 million in interest? And when I did a strict, as I understood, it was a strict loan calculation, okay, of LIBOR. And so when I did it and I shared it, that's what I came out with. So there are a number of different ways. Well, let me put it this way. The way that you're thinking about your house loan or mortgage, or the calculation, is not going into it this way. Now, what I'll do in order to show you an example that takes me out of the equation is find one. And what I have to do is determine what Bank of America is charging the Falcons on their loan, because that loan is exactly the same as the Vegas loan, okay? But I was told the LIBOR rate was there. And when I came out with, that's what I came up with, all right? So, not only that, when I pay, if I take out a loan with interest, and it's a simple loan structure, you pay the loan plus interest, and that's it. You pay the loan plus interest. You don't pay, that's it. So it's a simple straight line calculation, as I understand it. And I've understood it that way, to be that way for years. It's not the kind of, it's not a sinking fund. What you're thinking about maybe is like a sinking fund that goes in. Yeah, it's not a sinking fund calculation. Okay, which is different. So, and it's not a straight line debt service calculation either. It's simply, hey, look, here's your percentage, tack on that percentage to the total, and you pay that, back. That's it. A simple traditional loan structure. I was told is a traditional loan structure. That's a traditional loan structure. Not a mortgage loan, traditional loan structure. Okay. So, Michael Mondralo says, can you repeat those numbers again, Z? And Michael, which ones specify? I mean the whole spreadsheet? Let me know. Rick Gray says, or asks, so Raiders get no PSL money for their portion of the monies toward the stadium, right? Never. No PSL works like that. PSLs are used to pay for stadium construction. That was the original intent of the idea. That's the way they were used in the case of the Raiders returning from LA to Oakland, among others. Rams, every place else. Broadhug says, what's up, Zennie? How you doing? Nick in San Jose, stay in Oakland. Got that one. And, okay. Now, Matto, Rick Rice, you the man. So, let's see here. Got it. And James McClendon says, the whole relocation deal is a logistical bombshell ready to implode. He sure as hell is. And Rick Gray offers, says, 8.5 months from now, what's to say San Diego offers the Chargers the area they need and they back out of LA and NFL's request? Raiders have LA open? Yes, they do. What is a better deal for Raiders, Oakland or Los Angeles? Oakland, and I'll tell you why. Because in our parlance, the Raiders get to own their stadium. That's why. So the Raiders also, under the Fortress deal, would enjoy a percentage of development revenues. That's not the case at all in Inglewood. In Inglewood, they would be a sure and straight tenant of a stadium that they not only do not own, but don't get all or enjoy all the event revenue from. Okay? So the Raiders going to Inglewood would be a net loss for them. It would be sad for the franchise. I don't care how anybody feels about Los Angeles, the Raiders, let alone this continued silly romanticization about the idea that LA is this bigger and more powerful economy than the Bay Area, when the fact of the matter is that the Bay Area is carrying the whole doggone state of California's economy, you know, along with it. That's the fact, Jack. So I'm sick and tired of hearing people crow about Los Angeles when the Bay Area is several times greater in economic power than Los Angeles, and anybody who has half a brain knows it. There. Okay? Crying out loud. All right. Rick Gray says, thanks, Zennie, you're welcome. And Patrick and Blackman, I say to you, thank you again. Rick Gray says, land is open if only the A's get approval from citizens and get Peralta College land bought. So do the Raiders want to wait 6 years to build a stadium? Well, that's sample enough time. It really is. It's enough time to get it right. Okay? But think about it. If it takes that long, then, I mean, think about it. The Raiders have enough time to basically do this all over again. To import what's been done already from Las Vegas, bring it to Oakland, make the necessary modifications, shore up the stadium financing with Fortress, you know, settle out the plans for the stadium, make the necessary redesigns, promote it to the public, get it going. That's plenty of time to do it right. Because the problem is the Raiders are trying to do this in a rush. It's worth waiting the 6 years. It really is. It's worth waiting. Why not? Why not have a situation, how exciting for Oakland, where the Raiders and the A's would open stadiums in the same year in this town? Wouldn't that be so amazing after all the crap we've gone through? Excuse me. A little sweat there, folks. Sorry. All right. Okay. Be fantastic, you know? Absolutely fantastic. So, Joseph Binsman says, I still can't view this as a good thing because he insulted the players and he's getting the way of people understanding what the protest movement's all about. But Joseph, that's in the weeds thinking. Think overhead. Think about the overarching implications of the impact of what he's doing. You can't, the facts don't lie, the ratings are better. And that's negotiable material. That's data that I can use when I'm saying, hey, the NFL is still the most popular brand in the world in terms of sports. Look at this. Look at this, what Trump has done, and people are watching us. He's not destroying us, right? You cannot take those numbers away. They're not made up. They're there. For all those people who were talking about the ratings of the NFL were declining, they now have to accept this data too. So, no. No, you the man, Rick Rice. You are the man. You are the man. Joseph Binsman says, Maddow said Trump is going to hire a lawyer who served in the Trump transition team to help set up Sessions in the Justice Department. He lately had been a lawyer for a Russian bank. Oh, boy. 831 Scott says, the NFL banned Trump after he sued them over the whole USL mess. Yeah, from owning. Yeah, he's pissed off over that. But he's still doing him a favor by talking about him. Joseph Binsman says, now Trump is going to hire him, supposedly the head Department of Justice's criminal division, a Russian bank lawyer who was in the Trump transition team to head that position. Yikes. Totally yikes. Ooh, yeah. Good reporting, Rachel. 831 Scott says, that's what I think too, Rick Gray. I don't understand why it's going to take 6 years for the A's to get a privately financed baseball stadium built. Well, I can give you several answers. Stadium negotiations with the neighborhoods, land clearance, financing, dealing with, you know, acquisition of properties and businesses over there. They got the time frame about right. And 831 Scott says, I don't think the Raiders want to wait that long. Look, the Raiders should. It's not waiting. Let me put something out. You don't just sit around for 6 years and all of a sudden wave your magic wand and boom, there's a stadium, right? It takes planning. This is a marathon, not a sprint. The trouble with the Raiders in Las Vegas is they're trying to run a sprint when they're when the situation calls for a marathon, and that's why they're failing. I'm going to repeat that. The problem with the Raiders in Las Vegas is they're trying to run a sprint for a project that takes a marathon. And that is why they're running into so much problems. So many problems. Okay? So, Patrick in Blackman says, the city of Oakland knows Davis is way in over his head and expects him to come crawling back. That is why I said they're calling Davis bluff, although they approve the move. Yeah, I don't think that this is a time for the city of Oakland or the county of Alameda or the JPA to play games with the Raiders. Why do that? If you have someone in a position where they need you, don't make them feel bad for needing you. You need them too. Work out a deal and move forward together. That's the adult, constructive way to handle the situation. Rick Gray says, why is the NFL and Raiders does not want Fortress as part of the deal? That's out of the picture because Fortress is still in it. They still have the E&A. 831 Scott says, I don't think the Raiders would want to go to LA after seeing the way the fans have supported the Rams and the Chargers. I don't think so either. But also, why, on top of that, go to a situation where you don't own anything? You're quite literally just a tenant. It's not good. Stay home. Stay home. Stay home. James McClendon. It would take even 6 years to build a stadium. It wouldn't take even 6 years to build a stadium in Oakland. No, it wouldn't. But you know what? You could do it right. All right. I mean, you could really get it done right, and in a timely fashion, and make everybody happy in the process, and create something truly exciting. Do it right. All I'm saying is do it right. Do it right. Do it in accordance with the best stadium standards. Oh, and by the way, think of it this way. How exciting would it be if they could get, oh, why not? If they could get Apple excited. Maybe Tim Cook would want to put the Apple brand on a new stadium design. Something exciting, you know? The Apple Coliseum. How about that? So, Richard Lucero, Oakland is home. In fact, here's a question. What would an NFL stadium look like if it were designed by Steve Jobs? Just asking. Just asking. Richard Lucero, Oakland is home to the Raiders. That's where they should be. That's where they should stay. And that's where they should play. Raider Nation is all the way. I'm tired of this BS. Agreed. Joseph Binsman says, what does it matter that the NFL has good ratings when he's a con man who's wrecking our country? Sorry, not giving credit for anything. Well, that's you. I'm just dealing with the fact. He's the president. He has a bully pulpit. I understand how upset you are with what he has done. I massively share your issues there. But we have to deal with reality. And the reality is that he is the 45th president of the United States as I speak. So, Mr. Binsman says there are way important things in NFL ratings. Not from the standpoint, no, Mr. Binsman, not from the standpoint of stadium rights holders, and not from the standpoint of sports rights, and not from the standpoint of sports rights value. No, ratings at this specific point in the conversation mean everything, and don't forget it. Ratings are your measuring stick. Your measuring stick of popularity that you use in negotiation with brands. Period. Ratings and demographics, but ratings by far first. So, yes. Yes. Now, McClendon says, Coliseum land is already untitled and shovel Raiders. Bingo. Ruben Ortiz. Richard Lucero, I completely agree. He agrees with Lucero. Patrick M. Blackman says, the city could be listening to Zennie 62 with the insight you're giving and feel confident. Hey, thank you, Patrick. I would love if they would once do that and, also hire me as a consultant rather than, as someone said, we'll just take your free advice. The one thing about taking free advice is this. You discount it by not understanding how to implement it because you didn't want to ask the person who created it because, I don't want to pay him anymore. I can understand what he's saying just by him saying it. Yeah, no, you can't. I've been through this before. All right. Eric Madison. In fact, I'll tell you where I was do this. I was asked to apply and invited to apply for the position of Executive Director of the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority in 2002. I sent in a 25-page job application response. When me and Oakland City Attorney, my friend John Russo, and I went to the Raiders game, we went to the Coliseum box for a spell, and there was Alameda County Supervisor Scott Haggerty. And I mentioned to Scott, hey, I sent in an application for it. And he said to me, yeah, thanks for the free advice. I repeat, thanks for the free advice. Just saying. Okay? Just saying. They didn't hire me. And I gave them a lot of good advice for free. But you see how screwed that was for somebody to just sort of say that in your face? And I'm aware I'm saying this publicly. That's what he did. And obviously, I have not forgot that to this day. And I almost mentioned it when I was at the podium at the Joint Powers Authority meeting. No, they didn't like that. But look, you don't treat somebody like crap, as some of them have treated me, and think it's just going to go away, or it hasn't had an impact on my life. Because when I go back and look on, it doesn't matter where I go in life or how successful I become or whatever, or if I achieve my objectives or dreams and make my mom superbly happy, she already loves me, or, you know, wife to be or whatever, if I'm fortunate enough to go there, I will never forget in my entire life how my direction could have been different if they gave me the support that I needed to bring the Super Bowl here and allowed me to run the Coliseum when I wanted to run it. Those were two occasions. 1999, when I was leaving the Oakland mayor's office under Elihu Harris. In 2002, when I applied at the behest of City Administrator Robert Bob to be Coliseum JPA head. I'm not discounting the job that Scott McKibben is doing at all. No. Heck, I'm the one who got him there. Hey, before my intervention, Scott was like number 4 on the totem pole in terms of considerations. Went up like that. Number 1, got hired. Long story. Told it in my blog post. Google him. It's not Google. Go to Zennie 62 and then search Scott McKibben and read him. You'll see. Going back to, you know, what, 2014, 13 in there, all right? Read them. It's all there. It's all there. So I have the right to be upset. I have the right to speak my piece regarding how I was treated by some of the people who are still in charge over there. And all because, as Elihu Harris, my boss, who's former mayor of Oakland, you've heard on here, said Zennie just cares. And I do. I love my city. I love my region. All right? But as Elihu also told me decades ago, Zennie, nobody cares. Take those brains and use them on yourself. Just saying. But I do care about Oakland. But it is sad that a city doesn't, you know, marshal its talent and makes people, I'm not the only person who's gone through this, feel like that. Now, that's what I was trying to warn, you know, Grizz and those guys about. You watching Russell Rivera? So anyway, Patrick, okay, and then we got Tony Piling says, I would love to see them bring back an Ivy Wall at the Coliseum, new stadium classic. I like that. And Juliet, how are you? Juliet says, I'm on the side of Donald Trump all the way. Okay, Juliet, I'm glad you're on the side of Donald Trump all the way, but this is not a place for that, so fine. You have any issues regarding NFL football or, you know, instruction and all that, but this is not that. I'm not, you know, great, fine. But that said, welcome to Zennie 62. And since you said that, I'd love to have you as a new investor. It's double shares night. Welcome, Juliet. Joseph Binsman. So Puerto Ricans dying like now is not important in the NFL ratings. That's kind of what I was getting at. No, but I don't want to get... Joseph, you know what I'm saying. No, if you don't, let me explain it another way. Okay, it's like this. NFL here. Donald Trump makes is NFL here, ratings here, Donald Trump. Ratings, NFL activity impacts its own ratings. Donald Trump comments them, ratings go up. That improves the NFL's media value. That's what I'm talking about. It's that specific model I'm talking about, and that's it. Nothing else. So please pay attention microscopically only to that comparison and nothing else. That is a proven dynamic in terms of ratings increase. I'm not talking about what's important in this and that. I'm talking about a fact that impacts the value of the NFL as a sports rights organization. That's got nothing to do with anything else, man. Nothing. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. Okay? It is just the way it is. Countries can fall. Ants will crawl. And everything else will ball. But the bottom line is this. If NFL ratings go up, their sports rights value goes up. Now, what does that mean? It means the franchise value of the teams go up. That's what it means. It means that the cost to show a commercial on NFL telecast goes up. That's what it means. That's set in stone, man. And it also means that you have a better bargaining position as an NFL owner or team representative on an executive level with respect to a media organization that wants to have the right to show your organization, your team in action. That's all I'm talking about. That's it. All right. So, and I'm not discounting the Puerto Rican issue anyway. Please don't mix them. It's really more than apples and oranges. It really is. If you want to understand the math of sports rights, you got to forget that. St. Benedict says, I don't understand what he is saying, so I'm not even going to read it. And neither that. I mean, I'm sorry, whatever it is coming, it's not even coming in. Patrick and Blackman says, wow. And Joseph Ben says, honestly, I have plenty of reasons to believe Donald Trump stole the election each day. I get that. Okay, fine. Next. Okay, I get that. Patrick and Blackman, I'm pretty sure Vegas had their ears to the wall listening to you. Yeah. Ruben Ortiz says, Zennie, from day one, you've been legit all the way. Keep up the good work, and everyone invest and listen to Zennie. Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And yeah, absolutely. And yeah, thank you so much. Whew, it is 10:36. Does anybody have any statements they want to make? Because it's 10:36, which is leading to 1:30 in the morning, and I'm thinking of just calling it a night because I have been on for over 2 hours, and I want to eat and drink some coffee and relax. And I'm really toying with the idea. Corvette says Oakland Raiders stay in Oakland. Joseph Business says, I understand that, Zennie, but for me, I'm just not giving Trump credit for anything except being a con man. Good for the NFL, I get your point, but for me, I just look forward to the day that Trump fails. I understand. I understand. I am deeply sorry we're going through this period as a country, and we deserve better as a nation than we're getting. I can't explain to you how much I believe that. Ruben Ortiz says, I haven't been on lately, but what do you think of Kirk Cousins and him getting a contract deal? Well, you know what? His chances certainly improved. Hey, you just rejuvenated me. I was getting all upset about that stuff. All right, let me talk about that for a second because it reminded me of something that let me pick myself up and dust myself off here. Hold on a second. Boy, what? Oh, boy. Okay. All right. Boy, I got a little upset about that one. Don't like how this president is dividing us as a country. I just don't. At any rate, regarding your question regarding Kirk Cousins, I think Kirk Cousins proved that he is a man who can engineer a win against a quality team like the Raiders. The question is, will the Redskins be able to sustain it the next go around? In fact, let's check on something regarding the Redskins and Redskins schedule. And after I answer this question, yeah, they take on the Chiefs. This is their major test. Let's see what the Redskins do against the Chiefs. Put it to you easily. If they beat the Chiefs, the answer is yes. That's it. Raider Flea says, can we keep politics out of the sports arena? Not really, because, politics do impact sports. And what I find is that people, and I'm Raider Flea, I see your point, but let me explain what I'm getting at, okay? So I don't sound like a hypocrite. And Jason McClendon says, Zennie, Zinster, I'm upset with the way the media slighted you for breaking the news that first the Raiders were seeking a lease extension to 2020. You're not the only one, but you know what, Jason? You know the best revenge is to invest at this point and just help me keep going. And like I say, I don't care if it's $2, $20, or whatever. It makes a statement. But you're absolutely right. And I think, you know, Bossman called me and said, hey, Rick, great, thanks. I'm gonna say this, and I'm not gonna go. I'll go after I say this because I am fading. But my point is this: Bossman was saying, hey, look, everyone knows it came from you. Don't get upset. They are not doing so well. And I said, yeah, I get you. I'm on to the next story. But then I thought about it, and I said, you know what? Look, I was on SF Gate from 2009 to 2011, and under City Brights, and during that time, I witnessed the editors go after, and I'm being very blunt here, someone who is female and white, and promote them as, you know, their top City Brights blogger, right? Put them at the front top and all this sort of thing. Meanwhile, okay, so they're doing all that with one person whose name I won't mention, it's not the point. And then in late September of 2009, I go to interview Phil Bronstein, who was then executive editor of the Chronicle, all right? And so I go into his office, and you can see my interview on Zennie62 on YouTube. And before we start, he says, your name came up. Phil Bronstein says this to me as I'm sitting on his couch. Your name came up in our meeting with the big boss. Now, I have no idea who the big boss is. Who's the big boss? And Stephen Schwartz at the time, he was head of the news division for Hearst Corporation, excuse me. And I said, why did my name come up? You know, what'd I do? He said, well, we have this big spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet lists the traffic from all of our different categories, and your name was right at the top. Right at the top. And they wanted to know how I did that. Someone thought I had a special code. And then I reached out to Stephen Schwartz, and he says, hey, if you're ever in New York, I'll take you out to dinner. It's like, woohoo, great. Never did that. Never did that. I say all that to say this. If the Chronicle today really cared about getting a story right, knowing I'm out there, they could have simply mentioned my name, contacted me, invited me to write something special. You know, do the things that so-called journalists really do. I don't claim to be a journalist. Somebody on Twitter says he's not a journalist. I made a video blog saying I'm a blogger, not a journalist. And the reason why I said that then in 2009, and I say that now, and I wrote that while I was on the Chronicle website, because journalists have this really annoying way of telling you they're journalists and doing a lot of things to not act like journalists. In terms of being unethical. In terms of being not truly objective, but feigning behind objectivity. Okay? Things that bloggers don't do. Bloggers are honest. They're raw. They're to the point. They tell you where they're coming from. They say things that make you uncomfortable. They do things, they write things that are illuminating. You know their bias is up front. You've known from day one on this where my bias was. My bias was for Oakland. People in Vegas knew it. Las Vegas council member once says, well, I know he's from, you know, Oakland, and he says, hey, I'm biased for Oakland, but he makes a good point here regarding, you know, our bond debt coverage ratios. You need to look at this. So you know where I'm coming from. But with these other people out here, these people who rush to call themselves journalists, all right, they don't tell you what their biases are, but each and every one of them does have a bias. All right? That's ridiculous. And that's what I rail against. Consistently. It is wrong to conduct yourself in that way. And then go out and hit other people over the head over it like me and say, he's not a journalist. You're right, I'm not. Okay? And I'm telling you I'm not, and I'm telling you why. Because people who call themselves journalists act in ways that are unethical, that are unjournalist-like. Bloggers also have their code of ethics. We link to each other, we comment about people. But what happened was that these journalist types about, I would peg it at maybe, I would say maybe about, 7 years ago, started infiltrating our space. and bringing their bad habits into the online area. And bloggers have to take a stand and say, hey, you know what? You all are out of line. Because they are. I don't care if you're fighting for survival. I don't care if you're losing money. You don't do it on my back. Okay? But that's how they've been. All right? I wanted to run SF Gate. I remember, this too is on my blog. I said so. Then they, and I'm not going to mention the names, they hired Alana Gwen and Lalana right under my, under my nose, and never gave me a chance for an interview after all this stuff about my traffic and all this stuff, right? Never gave me a chance for an interview, even though I created Oakland's first blog and all this stuff, right? And then Alana proceeds to block a piece that I wrote asking the mainstream media to ask Rick Perry if he indeed had a gay relationship. He's going to say no. You'll probably say, what? Okay, yeah. This is all over the place. It was alleged that in 2005 that he had some sort of little encounter with his then Secretary of State. This is written up in a number of blogs in Austin. It just didn't make it to the mainstream media level, and no one wanted to ask him. All the man had to do was say no, but it was out there. So I put a post up. I made a video blog about it. That was already out there. It was already on the Chronicle website before she came in. Then she came up and she put the follow-up that I made on ice. Even though City Bright's rules prohibited such an action, she put it on ice. And, I said, why did you do that? And so she says, well, I know you want to talk about this, but instead of calling me, send me an email. Now, she's an attorney by training, so I'm thinking she wants a paper trail. I said, the heck with that. I'm going to call you. So I left her a message and she blocks me. So I was like, woo, go ahead and block me. So I made a video about it, which is up to this day on my YouTube channel. It's there. I don't know how long she lasts. I don't care. But when I made the video, okay, what I discovered, I was looking for some sort of photograph to respectfully describe her. And the only one that I found that described her in any way was her in like a half top or halter top. Because 2 years prior to her being hired as the executive director for sfgate.com, she was on AOL's Hot Tweeters. And she was like one of those, and they had her wearing this scantily clad stuff. Fine, you have to do that to make money? You can do that to make money. But don't take liberties with my ability to get out the truth. And that's what she was doing. And she forgot she's messing with a blogger. I blog, man. I was pissed. And the reason why I was more pissed was this, okay? All right? And so, all right? So this. So they, when I asked how she got the job, what I was told, and I'm not going to say by who, was, this is the first thing out of this person's mouth. Well, she's really attractive. Well, she's really, really bright. Okay. Well, I think she's half Vietnamese and half African American. Those were the first responses I got, folks. And then it was, well, she worked for this publication. I'm like, Yard Barker, okay? And I'm thinking, okay. I'm serious. That's what I got back. I'm serious. And I'm like, are you serious? Oh, and then she got her law degree from Stanford. So to which I said to the person, you hired her because she was a Stanford grad and not a Cal grad. Oh, shame on you. You're a Stanford grad too. I was joking. But I never forgot that. And here I am, who was responsible, directly responsible for 26 million page views to the City Brights program, and what I estimate to be maybe about $100,000 in ad revenue I generated for them, which means I helped save jobs in a time of media problems. Think about it. And how was I rewarded? With that. So I made a video saying, you know what? It's my job to stick it to them. I'm going to get more traffic than you are. I'm going to cover Oakland news better than you do. One person. Unless, of course, I get funded and become, more than one person. So, you know, I had established Zennie 62 maybe less than a year after that happened. Or before that, excuse me. Yet less than a year before that happened. Because something told me I better build my own media company base. Glad I did. But that's how Zennie 62 got started. I figured I might as well take advantage and start consolidating things under around a brand. And I made that decision in 2010. A year before that happened. There you go. So am I still, salty about it? Heck yeah. Obviously, by the way, I resuscitated. I told you that. Okay. I did. And I hope Alana's very successful and everything. That's great. It wasn't her fault. Let me emphasize something. It wasn't her fault. The situation was handled like that. She was just, looking for a job. Great. She could have handled it in a different way. Because by her own admission at that time, I was their prize blogger. That's not the way you treat your prize blogger. It's not. Because what I had done at that point was I had figured out a way to monetize media. And if I ran SF Gate, it would have been more valuable by a factor of 3. And I would have been able to create more jobs than anybody has in the history of that website. But it's too late now because I got my own. So there you go. And that's what happened. There you go. Rick Gray says, so what's your recourse, Zennie, for the Chronicle stealing your story? You know what? Dig. Work harder. Keep moving the needle in terms of the information that's out here and keep up with the detailed reporting. I'm not going to stop that. I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to have others involved. And I'm going to grow Zennie 62 Media, and I need your help to do that. Hence the double shares night, among other things. But, we're only at infancy of what we can do. And I want to expand it out and have guests on in different areas. Not just this, but is John Marks around? We talked about horror movies and shows about Comic-Con, and I've got to work on that sort of thing. I've got the NFL fall owners meeting coming up. I'm having a concentrated focus on Oakland. I have a new blog I'm rolling out called Oakland News Online. That's why it's called oaklandnewsonline.com. Check it out. All Oakland news, including Raiders stuff, including this, will be on there. Or excuse me, is on there already. Active. I'm very proud of what I built. So that's the next step. That's the next step. Rick Gray says, have you talked to Audrey Cooper? Can you refresh my memory about that, Rick Gray? Maybe just talk to me offline about that. Rings a bell, and I apologize. My mind is so full of things right now. All right. It is 11:52, and I am going to. John Marks is here, but John Marks, you remember we were talking about the whole horror movie focus and another area I want to explore. Because hey, look, I'm a fan of Star Trek. Rick Gray says editor-in-chief of Chronicle, I think. Who is that? Editor-in-chief of Chronicle? Let's see here. Let's see here. Editor-in-chief. No, Audrey Cooper. Oh, I see. I have reached out to her before. She came along after I did. But the first woman to fill the role in the company's 152-year history. Good for her. She's also the youngest woman ever named as the top editor of a major newspaper-based company. Yeah, that's great. She was appointed January 13th, 2015, and I did reach out to her regarding a similar problem about stealing stories. So if I've talked to her, yeah, I mentioned it, but you know what? I'm just going to keep. Here's the best thing that anybody can do, rather than me just running up their flagpole and all this stuff. You see this sort of thing happening, you run up their flagpole. You find Audrey Cooper on Twitter and say, hey, look, you stole Zennie's stuff. If you see a report on a news organization's website like the Review Journal or the Chronicle, go in the comments and say, hey, look, Zennie reported this originally. Why are you doing this? Why don't you give Zennie Abraham credit? Or Zennie 62, whatever. Write that there. That's powerful because when you write that, it also shows up in Google News. People find that. All right? They find that. So that's where you can help me. That only takes a few seconds. Well, more or less. All right? That's where you can help. That way I'm not spending more time like flailing away, but also it's the Zensters at work. If you believe in people recognizing what's done here, that's what helps. All right? Joseph Binsman says, I don't know how long others have been a fan of Zennie, but the first time I saw a video of yours was back in, I think, 2013 on the Indiana State Fair concert stage collapse. Keep up the good work. Hey, thank you. I will. Thank you. Ruben Ortiz says, Night Zennie and Zensters, keep up the good work. 831 Scott says, I think you should have a new shirt made for your followers that says, I'm a Zenster. I will do that and have a logo. I'll do that. I'll get right on it. Rick Gray says, what is your Oakland news site again? Okay, it's right here. I'll get the URL for you right off the bat right now. Excuse me. OaklandNewsOnline.com is here, which reports it's. I really like this site. I haven't officially announced it. I'm kind of working through gradually, but I'm really proud of this. I'm really proud of it. This is the most complete. It's designed to be the most complete and comprehensive Oakland blog ever. Oakland news blog ever. That's my intent. It's got, I mean, that's the intent of what I'm trying to do with Oakland News Online, because my godparents, among others, have said, hey, you know, we can't sift through this newsletter you put out and find our Oakland news. We just want our Oakland news. Well, this is the best way to get the news that's happening in Oakland. And I've only scratched the surface of where this is going to go, and I'm going to expand on it even more. But what I've got are, you can find out if you go down and go to the right-hand corner of it, Oakland tweets from all the Oakland council members, hashtag Oakland, hashtag Oak meeting, or OAKMTG, Oakland Ghost Ship Fire News, Oakland Sharing the Vision. What happened to that? If you're wondering, click on and find out. I even have videos going all the way back to the Oscar Grant riots and the whole story about Oscar Grant. I have a gigantic playlist of videos. I think it's something like, I don't know what, 16 or 21 videos strong. Check it out. I mean, and then I've got all kinds of news coming from Bleacher Report, Silver and Black Pride, Athletics Nation, along with the normal, outlets. And then it's intermixed with my stuff. Check it out. Oakland News Online. Really proud of it. All right. Even have a special area for Forever Oakland. Right there. Okay. Raider Flea says, Zennie, I got your back. Thank you, man. Thank you. All right, folks. 19 watching now. I'm going to bid everybody good night. And thank you. Thank you. I'll see you guys. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. 831 Scott says, what are your thoughts about the Oakland JPA joining a lawsuit after the last meeting? Wow. I'll deal with that next time. I'm going to save something for... I don't know about Sunday. Maybe. Sunday's my mom's birthday. So if I do anything, I have to fly in first. I want to take mom out, so I may not have a live stream that Sunday. That's my mom's birthday. And if I do have a live stream, I'm definitely going to have something for my mom if she wants. If not, it's just going to be Mom's Day. Okay? And it should be. No, wait, it's just going to be Mom's Day. But Monday is Godfather Grizz. All right? So are you going to ATL this weekend? I'm going to see my mom for her birthday this weekend. Yes, I am. Good night, Rick Gray. Good night, everybody. Richard Carter says, hey, Zennie, you remember the carpet store in Oakland called Beckett's, home of Bay Area World Champions? I do remember that. Yep. That was a carpet store, or was that Beckett's, or heck, anyway, we'll pick that up. Send me an email, Mr. Carlson. I'm out. Good night, everybody. I'll see you guys. Thank you.